Hi, Inner Realms, Outer Journeys, Karen Bonifilio coming back to you. And I have a new guest and someone who will offer a different flavor to the channel today. I am talking to Greg Thompson today. Greg, would you like to say hi to the audience before I introduce you?
Sure. Hello, folks.
I could tell you the story about Greg and I trying to hook up. It was really quite funny. That could be another time. So about Greg, he is a retired IBM software engineer and he's an empath who has had several near-death experiences. He had a shared death experience, which I have never heard about, and numerous out-of-body experiences. He's done remote viewing, astral travel, has psychic abilities, and has been blessed with the ability to communicate with his spirit guides. That sounds cool. He's also a group leader for the Portland, Oregon chapter of International Association for Near-Death Studies, IANDS. And I didn't know anything about that either. In addition, this gentleman has written a book titled Living with My Spirit Guides, which chronicles his experiences. So I think you are in for a treat today. All right, Greg, let's start out. You have had many near-death experiences. Would you like to talk about those first?
Yes, I would. Well, one of them we're going to hold off on, but the other two I will.
Okay.
The first one I'm going to talk about today is, I'm kind of embarrassed to say, something that I caused myself to happen. In 1986, I was a software engineer, not with IBM yet, we were with the phone company, and I got a promotion there, and the person who took my place in my job was a co-worker, and he took my old position. He wanted to go out and have some drinks after work to celebrate the fact that he had just gotten promoted.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Well, except for the fact that he picked the bar that was nearby work, and it's known for pushing drinks.
Is that in Portland?
No, that's in Seattle. Well, actually,
okay.
Bellevue, Washington, specifically.
Oh, okay.
So I was a little reluctant to go, but I decided, I will, because I was afraid that I'd be getting too many drinks thrown in my face. Anyway, I went to it, and when I got there, I was about an hour and a half late because I was doing some other paperwork before I got there. And it turned out that they were having a good time while I was gone, while I wasn't there. There was about 30 people that showed up.
Oh my gosh.
And he was buying drinks for everybody.
Wow.
So when I got there, they had saved a table, a chair at the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there were 5 drinks in front of me. Okay.
Did they want you to catch up? Oh my gosh.
What happened if any of those 30 people asked for a refill, everybody got a new drink.
Oh my gosh. I've never played that game.
Yeah, and my favorite at the time was sipping bourbon. So I had 5 small glasses of 100%. So I had one, and usually if I wanted to limit myself, because I was going to be driving home afterwards, I thought I can do that by just how many drinks that I had. They were right in front of me. Well, they taking one away and putting one down all the time. I always had 5 drinks in front of me.
Oh my Lord.
No matter how much I drank.
Oh my gosh.
So before I knew it, this started around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And they closed at 1 o'clock in the morning, with refills to everybody. And so there I was, getting into my car to go home. And yeah, and it was.
Oh my gosh.
It was just like, what do I do now? I thought about maybe taking a taxi.
Mm-hmm.
Get a taxi, but the business closed up already, and in those days, cell phones didn't really exist. We're talking 1986.
Mm-hmm.
So
80s were decadent years.
Yes, they were. So I decided to drive home, and I didn't want to do that, but that's the only way I could figure out to get home. I could not get a hold of a taxi. They didn't hang around. You'd think taxis would hang around the bar, you know.
Mhm.
They didn't. So I got in the car, started to drive home, and I got on the interstate freeway, drove the mile or two I had to do. Then I was take an exit off of it that would take me down to Highway 520, going east toward home. And it was only about a 15-minute drive, not too long.
Hmm.
So I started off and got on the road, and I knew I was going to drive under the speed limit, and I said that'd be an obvious thing for cops, but I didn't care. And so I take that exit, and as I'm going around the corner, I suddenly am not driving on the road anymore. I'm driving across the hillside, and
Oh.
the car's going down, and then going back up again, and going down and going up kind of thing, and I'm driving through brush. And I'm going, and the car seemed to be going faster than I had expected it to be. So I must have hit the gas pedal instead of the brake at one point.
Wow.
And the next thing I realized is that the car is not driving straight anymore. It's not level anymore. It's rolling.
Oh, gosh.
And it rolled several times and finally stopped. And I left my body. And I was floating upward. And I could see above me somewhere kind of like a light, a bit of light. And everything around, of course, was dark because, you know, after midnight. There was no street lights or anything there. So everything was pretty much black except for this one light area above me. And as I moved slowly toward it, I realized that I'd been in a wreck. I mean, and so I started feeling guilty about that. I hoped I hadn't hit anybody else, that sort of thing. And there was a couple of spirits that were floating around me. You know, there was kind of like wisp of like a cloud, wisp of cloud kind of thing.
And you're out of your body.
I'm out of my body.
And looking down and around you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm floating upward toward above me, and I could feel the difference in the. I could feel love coming toward me.
Oh.
And it was beautiful, and I kind of wanted to do that. I wanted to go to that, but at the same time, I felt that I had to somehow take over control me, and that wasn't working too well. So I was floating upward, and then there, closer and closer, I was being welcomed. I could feel being welcomed to it, and the joy, you know.
Oh.
And I thought, well, this is pretty neat. You know, maybe I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, there was some sort of consternation above me, like somebody's going, huh? And the next thing I know, something says no, really loud, and shook my soul. And I'm back in the car.
Oh.
And I'm sitting there going, what the? And
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know where I was initially.
And you're drunk.
Well, yeah. And, you know, I had a real high. So anyway, I noticed something wasn't right about the vehicle. First of all, the car radio was still playing. There were still headlights out in front of me, but the car was not moving. It was sitting on the freeway, going the opposite direction than I had planned to go.
What?
Yeah, it was aimed going into Seattle, and I was driving to go the opposite direction.
And you had got on the off ramp, didn't you?
I came off an off ramp, yeah. But I came looking back on it after the fact. Somewhere around that, it was a curve on that ramp,
Mm-hmm.
parallel from one highway to the other, and it was a downward slope to get to the second to the Highway 520 to go home.
Oh.
All right, so I was going down, and it rolled, and what it did was it went across, and it went across the first lanes going east, and then there's a meridian with a grass, and it went down and came back up again, and it was then I went through that, and then it rolled again and landed upright. I looked up, and what dawned on me finally was that what I was looking at was where a windshield used to be.
Oh.
And I took a look left and right, and there was no glass windows. And I looked through the rearview mirror, and it looked the same on the outside. So I tried to get out of the car, and I had trouble getting out of it because of the fact that the door was smashed.
Oh, crunched,
yeah. And so I finally was able to push it open, and I got out of the vehicle, and I took a look at it, and it was just one big piece of smashed up metal sitting on 4 tires that were flat.
Wow.
And about that point in time, a car came by, and they stopped, and it said, "Do you need some help?" I said, "Yeah, but I'm personally I'm okay." They said, "Okay, fine." And there was a husband and wife thing, I think, and the wife said, "He's bleeding," and the husband says, "Let's go," and they left. And shortly after that, a cop car showed up on the other side, going east, and they turned their lights toward me, and they said, "Are you okay? Is anybody else injured?" And I said, "Nope, just me." And they said, "Okay." So they went up and came back, and of course we went through the whole business with police. I got home much later that night.
Were you arrested?
I was taken to the hospital to get cleaned up because my face was blood all over the place. And, facial cuts are always hurts.
Wow.
I also had a bump on the top of my head.
Yeah.
Where my head tried to go through the sunroof, glass sunroof.
Oh my gosh.
The doctor looked at me and he said, "I have never seen anybody who's had such good luck as you have." And I said, "Good luck?" He said, "Yes." He said, "I've given you stitches. I'm stitching your right eyebrow. You have some cuts in the right eyebrow, and that's what's causing the blood." And he said, "Nobody will ever see it because it's underneath the eyebrow." Said,
Oh.
"Oh, okay.
Nice.
Well, maybe things are looking up now."
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up pretty fast. I had a roommate at the time, and he came and picked me up and took me home. That night, of course, it was just a blur because I was still drunk. That was a Friday night, as it turned out. So I had Saturday off, and I didn't do much at all because I was still hungover. And Sunday,
Oh my word.
Saturday night, I went to sleep, and I'm sitting there just going, "What the heck happened? What the heck happened?" And I had 2 things going on. What happened to me when I was trying to go around that corner? And then the second one was trying to understand the whole thing about flying up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was more okay with that than I was with what had happened physically.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking back on it, just slowly going, okay, I turned the corner here, I turned the corner there, I went around the corner, piece by piece. And then I realized that when I was going around the corner, I took my hands off the wheel.
Oh.
I tried to commit suicide. And I wasn't.
But did you do that intentionally? Try to commit suicide, or?
I think I did.
Oh, okay.
I was under a lot of pressure. Like I had a new job, new responsibilities, and deadlines that were very, very tight. And I wasn't used to it being that way. And so I threw up my hands, literally, and allowed the accident to happen. That one bothered me a great deal.
Greg, I want to thank you for sharing that because that is something that's really hard to share to people.
It was. I surprisingly found it easy to stop drinking because stop drinking causes me to want to commit suicide. I mean, if I'm drinking causes me to want to commit suicide. I
Yeah.
don't want anything to do with it.
Now, when that happened and but the light was up there, did you later reflect on what is that? What did I see? Or,
Yeah, I did, and I'm not a religious person.
uh-huh.
My I have a problem with religion, and that's my problem. I realize because I don't see the world that way. I don't see a human, a white. When I was a little kid, God was shown to me as being an old man, white beard, sitting on a throne someplace,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and then depending on who you talk to, he was either punishing you or helping you or whatever.
Yeah.
None of that made sense to me at all,
Mm-hmm.
and it never did.
Mm-hmm.
I just call myself a spiritualist. Um, so yeah, the, seeing that above me was the what I took out of that I really liked was the love, the unconditional love that was coming out. It was just fantastic, and I have used that myself, and that's a different story, to help others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's interesting that as I was trying to figure out what all happened that second night that I was at home and lucid, uh, it dawned on me that had happened before. That floating up before and being told no and thrown back had happened
Really?
once before in my life. All right.
Oh.
And I'm kind of going, when would that have been? When would that have been? And that turns out to have been when I was 10 years old. And,
Oh, you had another near-death
I had
experience
another,
earlier in your life.
yes, yes and no.
Okay. You got to explain that one.
Uh, yeah, I think we can move back in time now, back to 1959. Um, I was taking piano lessons in those days, and
Mm-hmm.
so I get off school and I would go home, drop it out my school books, and then get my music books, and I'd go take a walk through Oregon City down to the bus depot to take a bus ride down to my teacher's house,
Hmm.
and that was a once a week thing. And so I was going back. I had picked up my books, and I was going back to the grocery store, which is on the way to the bus depot. My parents owned and ran a grocery store, and so I check in there to let them know that I'm going down
Oh.
the other
Mhm.
bus, so they knew where I was. And so I get to 7th Street in Oregon City, which at that time was a very busy street coming into town from south. Standing at the crosswalk, there is a white lines on each side for the crosswalk, point out where it is, and there was also a yellow flashing light above that said crosswalk.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm walking up there, and I get there, and traffic's going through there. On the left side of me, where I'm standing there, going up the hill, is about 6 blocks up, is the beginning of coming into the city. That's where the
Okay.
city sign is. And people would be doing 35 miles an hour at that point in time. So as they're coming down the hill, they're supposed to be dropping down to 25 about blocks before we get to me.
Yeah.
They seldom did. Cars they'd be slowing down, so they're maybe 30 miles an hour or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so you kind of have to wait, even though there are people standing there waiting to go across the crosswalk. It's ignored. So I'm just standing there, and then a person shows up on the other side of the crosswalk, and then an elderly couple walk up behind me, and
Mhm.
he has a cane, and he's holding on to, and he is his arms are intertwined with his wife, and holding him up a little bit, making him
Okay.
okay. So they're standing right behind me, and then several people come up on both sides. So we got probably about 12, 15 people waiting to go across this crosswalk, and cars are shooting by. I suddenly became aware that there was a spot where cars weren't coming. So I stepped off the curb, and once I took my step off the curb, something reached the back of my jacket that I had on, which was a brand new jacket, leather, imitation leather, I'm sure, jacket that I had zipped up when I was at home because it was cold that day, in September time frame, and but it was nice and bright out. And all of a sudden, something reached and grabbed that jacket and picked me up and put me back on the curb as a red-covered car shot by. And just
Wow.
missed me. And I'm shocked. And I
Yeah.
knew somebody had picked me up because the zipper on my jacket was up against my throat as I was being picked up.
Oh, wow.
Well, it was literally somebody took me from the jacket.
But
And
nobody was.
but nobody was. I asked around and nobody was. I just thought, okay. Popular by that point in time, dude.
Yeah.
So eventually it cleared off, and I went across the street, and then I went down 7th Street. I was going down the other side, and I was going to the grocery store. I got down to the next intersection, and I was a little leery about walking across intersections. And I looked to the right, and there was nobody turning left to come into the side street that I was walking across. And it was okay. So I took another look before going because I wasn't too sure. And I looked again, and then I saw it. There was a boy my age lying in the middle of the street in the intersection. And there was a red car right behind him where it stopped. And people were running out to see what they could do to help in the situation. As I'm standing there looking at that, and I could feel he was dead. I knew he was dead. And then I became aware that somebody behind me was yelling. And I turned to look, and there was this woman coming toward me. She was yelling, "No, no, 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 no." And she had on an apron, and I could figure out pretty obvious that the boy was her son. And I turned around and looked back again, and it was all gone.
It was all gone.
It's all gone. Cars were just driving through the intersection, no problems, you know. And I go, "What the?" And I turned to look behind, and she was gone too.
Oh my gosh.
And I got this chills down my back. There was death here. There was death in this corner, this street.
You saw it.
I saw the aftermath.
Yeah.
And so I also in those days had trouble determining what time I'm in. And I didn't know if I had been looking at something that was past time, happened in the past, or something that's going to happen in the future.
Oh.
Did not happen, obviously, in the present. And I didn't know, so I was really confused. And I went on down the street, about 2 or 3 more blocks to the grocery store, and I walked in there. My mother was substituting checking there. And so she was there. And I came in, and she said, "Oh, she'd be with me in a minute." And she took care of a customer. And then she was done. I sat down on a stool they had set there for her or whoever was checking between customers. And I sat down there, and I was just shaking. I mean, I was just going,
yeah,
kind of a thing.
Probably shock.
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, and I didn't know. I didn't know time didn't make sense to me right at that moment. And she saw me, and she came over and said, "What's wrong, honey?" And I said, was there a boy that got killed up there on? And I told her the intersection, and she said, "Not that I'm aware of, you know." And she asked my stepfather as he walked by. He said, "No, nothing's happened." And so she said, "It's okay, honey." And I said, "I'm not so sure it is. I'm sure something happened." And she said, "The police department's just around the corner here. They would have had sirens going if somebody had gotten hurt." So no, it did not happen. And I said, "Okay, fine." She understood this kind of stuff.
Did she?
She understood this sort of thing. This was. When I look back, there are so many different times in my life when I was a kid that I would do something that was just bizarre when you look at it from an adult perspective. And she just went with the flow. So that's a situation where, everything went okay, except for the fact that I been picked up by the back of my jacket, and I saw the death of a boy that didn't happen. And then I forgot about it. I mean, I was only 10 years old. I had plenty of things to do, like a lot of places to play, and
Mm-hmm.
they're really important to me. And so I forgot all about it. Going back to that suicide in 1986,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there thinking, I have done this before. I have flown out of my body before. I have gone up there before.
Oh my gosh.
And it finally dawned on me that that was me in the intersection.
That was you.
Me in the intersection, and I died, and it did the exact same things that happened in 1986.
And they sent you back.
And they sent me back. In both cases, they sent me back.
Maybe your mind, you were so young that it didn't make sense. I mean, I don't know. And was that your mother running towards you that you might have seen?
No, I don't think. I think I would have recognized her.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of weird that the two got intertwined together, and later in life, we hear in this century, I wrote the book, and writing the book, I'm kind of going, so why did I have this memory?
Yeah.
But I had forgotten about the memory. All right, until 1986, then it became intuitive that back when I was 10 years old,
right,
it happened. And I'm going, why did I have to know that? There had to be a reason why that happened. It's not just, we're playing around with the kid today.
No.
I said, well, this is just bizarre. And I started thinking about when did I ever have any other spiritual kind of happenings happen to me? Well, there's several that happened, but one of them was very, very strong and was with me for over 10, 15 years. And that is that in 1967, just to make fun of another date, I was going to college, and I was a sophomore, I think, at that time. And it was, I was by myself in the dorm room one night. My roommate was gone. I don't recall why, it doesn't matter. And I went to bed, and I had been there for a while, and then all of a sudden, I found myself somewhere else in the world.
Okay. In the room or out of the room?
Out of the room, in the world.
Out of the room. Okay.
Where I was on a pebble-stone street that kind of went uphill in front of me, and there were buildings built up on both sides of the street, and we were in an earthquake, and so everything's moving around like this, kind of thing, and several people came out and they got killed by debris coming down off of a building.
Oh my gosh.
A voice went by me saying, "Help them die."
Help the guy.
And I'm going, what? And
I'm supposed to be in my dorm room in bed.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know why I'm here. It's an earthquake and it's going on.
Wow.
And another voice went by again, "Help them die." And I go, who? Obviously the ones I'm looking at are dead. and it said, "Help them die."
Oh my gosh.
Okay, fine.
Greg.
So how do I do that? How do I do that?
And who was it?
Okay, I got to calm down.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I know how to do this. So I started sending unconditional love out of me.
Good.
The earth, and brought it up around me, and I just kind of let it expand out across a special area that needed it around the earthquake. And then I started sending love. I was sending unconditional love. Then I started saying, "You're not alone, and you are loved, And there are those here to help you move on, go with them on the journey.
Wow,
And
that's
I was
crazy.
picturing the one I had in 1959 and 1986, where I was picturing that whole thing. So I used that back in 1967. Subconsciously, I already knew the answers to that. I started doing that and started helping people out. That started a whole nother career for me.
So, Greg, do you think that the thing that happened when you were young,
Mhm.
and then you had the thing that happened in college, and then the other thing,
Mhm.
the the first one was preparing you for helping someone die, and the other one,
Yeah, that's what.
wow, they were using you to do that.
Yeah, they were, and it became. It happened a lot. I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, maybe
More.
three times in a whole year, maybe four times in a year, where I would be pulled out of whatever I was doing, and it was usually I was sleeping or just lying down. I wasn't driving a car, but I said help somebody. No. It was interesting. It actually I was wondering about where this earthquake was happening, and I had looked at the clock to see what time it was, and of course then they didn't have internet, right? 1960s, 1960s. So I didn't know what happened. I didn't know where it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and it wouldn't be in that morning paper because that would be too soon. So the day after, I looked in the paper, and on page 6, it talked about an earthquake happening in Turkey, and
Oh, Turkey.
I listed
Okay.
the time, and I compared the time for that when it happened to me, and it's the same time zone, same time. I was in Turkey. All right. So it's just, and
Greg,
I've been asked to do that off and on
Greg.
through my life, and finally, after 9/11 happened, uh, which is a whole different story. Um,
Are we going to hear about that in a future video?
yeah, in a future video, yes,
Okay.
we're going to go through my 9/11 experience, which is for 50 years. It started long before.
So you were in this lifetime, you were chosen to help others
Mhm.
transition
Yes.
and to also grow yourself that way.
Yeah. Even
Oh,
more.
that's crazy cool though. I like that.
Yeah,
But to try to figure it out would be
it,
daunting.
well, it's hard because, well, again, think about it. Who are you going to talk to about? I mean, I could talk to my mother, but there's no support groups.
This is true. It's quite some time ago.
Last century. um, yeah,
Stop it, man.
it's just crazy. Um,
Oh, wow.
so anyway, that's how life has been going. I finally asked in 20, well, after about 2003 or so, after the 9/11 events, uh, because I was also trying to help them during that happened, uh, and
Okay, let's save that because we'll have another video for that.
yeah, uh, I've also been in several tsunamis in Thailand, Indonesia, helping people die, and it was very interesting. It was really interesting. I was at a convention, a technical convention, because I was a software engineer, and I was talking to some people one day about helping people die. And I was using the latest one had been just Indonesia. The second
Yeah.
time Indonesia was hit,
Oh, wow.
and what would happen? I would end up flying up in the air above. Well, I don't know. I didn't fly there. I found myself above the air, above the water, uh,
Oh, as it came in?
30,000 feet or whatever. Like, so I'm looking down and seeing the whole thing,
Oh, my
and
gosh.
so I'm trying to send love that way and such. And then every once in a while, I would see couple people that really needed to be saved, and I don't know why, but they needed to be saved. They needed to be helped, and so I would dive down, as it were, and be with them in the water, and then go back up again. And I was talking about how this happened and such, and all of a sudden, there was a guy that was listening, standing by the table where we were at, listening, and he sat down and listened, and he went, kind of said, "You too?" He says, "Yes, I was."
Really?
I
So
was
there are more. You sound like you're a light worker or something.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, there were quite a few of us there.
So you were like all sent to help.
Hmm.
Now, when you dove down, how did you help save those people that were not supposed to pass?
I did the same thing. I said, "You're not alone. You're loved." And we went to,
Okay.
and there are those here to help you move on. And
Greg, this is just crazy. I love it.
yeah,
But I couldn't imagine experiencing it and you figuring this all out.
well, you don't have much choice in that. Somebody somewhere has decided, or maybe I decided before I came back to Earth
Yes, I'm
that
sure you did.
that I would do that sort of thing.
I'm sure you decided before you came back down that was going to be your journey.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And now you lead a chapter in this kind of thing.
Hmm.
So it's kind of come full circle.
Yeah, yeah. In 2018, I asked that I be allowed to do it again. I had, like I said, around 2003 or something like that. I said no more. I couldn't do it, and I was pretty much a basket case back then.
Oh,
Again, we'll talk about that at another time. But I said I needed to understand it better. Why was I chosen to do this?
yes.
And so I'm willing to do one more, help somebody die, if I understood when it got done why I was chosen to do that.
You're bargaining.
I'm bargaining, yeah. And
You have no power, yet you're bargaining.
I immediately found myself in Syria.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And
Oh,
it was in a room in the basement of a house, and there were two inquisitors that had tied a man down to a bed. And I won't
yeah.
describe what they were doing, but
Okay.
they were
Thank you.
torturing his body. Let's leave it at that. He was well trained. I mean, I was trying to connect to him, and I could not. It was like there was this block around him. And he obviously had some information that they wanted. And he also had been trained how to not feel pain.
Wow.
And so he was completely isolated in his own little cubicle of space. And they were doing things to his body he didn't even know about it.
Didn't even know, didn't even feel.
I didn't feel it at all. No. But there were two spirits floating around him.
Oh, protecting?
And they were there to take him away, to let him.
Oh,
And I thought, okay, but he's not hearing them. And that's when I get involved, is between being the mediator, if you will, between it. And so I started the same thing. You're not alone, and you're loved. And I just kept doing it and kept doing it. And just at some point in time, it's going to work. And so I just kept saying the same things over and over and over. And I mean, I went on for a long time. I started thinking, is this ever going to work? And suddenly he became aware, and he saw them. He left, and the body died.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going, okay, so what did that tell me? What did that teach me?
Mm-hmm.
And the response back was, well, you're an empath.
Yes.
Have empathy.
Mm-hmm.
That's required for this job.
Mm-hmm.
And you fit the bill, so that's why you were chosen to do that. And all you had to do was say you didn't want to do it anymore, and we would leave you alone. And
Wow.
So that's
Greg, you are fascinating. You really are. I would love to hang out with you. But I am going to stop this NDE right now and also let our audience know that we're going to do a couple more videos for SDE. And you're going, what's an SDE? And then Parallel Universe, right? That one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thank you for coming on the channel now and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.